Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Share to Buy Live webinar with L&Q. We're going to be getting into explaining all about shared ownership and having a look at the particular lovely L&Q development in West London called Kew Bridge Rise. My name is Nick Leib. I'm the Chief Operations Officer at Share to Buy, and I'm happy to be joined today by Nikki Clark, Senior Sales Associate at L&Q, and John Beracol, Sales Associate at L&Q, and these guys are both involved in the Kew Bridge Rise development. So we'll get going. So Nikki, John, over to you, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Who are L&Q? L&Q is one of the UK leading housing associations and developers. We provide homes and neighborhoods that everyone can be proud of by delivering safe, high-quality homes, services, and support for all our residents. As a non-profit organization, all the money we make is reinvested into helping house those in great need. We offer a range of home buying options, including shared ownership that we have at Kew Bridge, with homes available all across London and the UK.
Hello everyone, I'm Nikki. Myself and John work at Kew Bridge Rise, so hopefully we'll see you for a viewing soon. So what is shared ownership? Shared ownership is also known as part buy, part rent. So you're buying a portion of the share in the property between 25 and 75%. Normally, most people start at 25%, and you pay a subsidised rent on the portion that L&Q still owns. In terms of how much you can buy initially, that will be determined by our approved financial advisors, and then the subsidised portion of rent that you pay, it's quite heavily subsidised. So it's really a great product. I'm a big fan of shared ownership, obviously. The whole point of shared ownership is for buyers to get a foot on the ladder. Pretty next to impossible for first-time buyers to buy outright in London. So it's just a great way to make a start. And you know, the idea is that eventually you'll be able to buy more shares and one day own 100%. So to qualify for shared ownership, there's some eligibility criteria that you must meet. Household income must be under 90,000 in London. It's 80,000 outside of London. You must not own another property, whether here or abroad, at the point of legal completion. It's not impossible to have a property and certainly view and even reserve with us, but you still need to adhere to the exchange deadline that we have, which we'll talk about more later. So we just have to get the timing right. Basically, you would be selling your existing property, and once that's done, then we can exchange and complete on your new home. And then finally, you must be over 18 years old. So what you'll need, you will need a deposit, an exchange deposit, we call it, of between 5 and 10%. Now, your mortgage deposit could be higher, depends on your circumstances. So if you have higher savings, then your mortgage deposit can be higher. But to exchange, a minimum of 5% is required of the minimum share. You'll need a good credit history. And I would say, if you haven't already, download your credit report and score. You can do that through checkmyfile.com, Credit Karma. There's several agencies that you can use. It's really important because if you don't have a good credit history, you might not be able to get a mortgage, and you do need to get a mortgage to buy shared ownership, with very few exceptions with the cash purchase, which is special circumstances. You'll also need money for buying costs. So this really we're talking about legal fees and mortgage fees, roughly £3,500, but you should allow some more in terms of savings for actually moving in, you know, if you have to hire a van. So I think we sort of say if you have 5,000, then that's going to cover hopefully everything. Over to John.
Yep. Okay. So people asked about staircasing. What staircasing means? So basically, once you complete the cycle that Nick say that you buy your share, staircasing means is that you can buy more shares of your own property. Okay. At L&Q, most of our developments you could buy up to 100%. If you wish to buy 100%, if you don't want to buy 100%, you could only buy your 25%, and you keep paying rent and service charges to L&Q. Of course, the more share you buy, the less rent you pay to L&Q, which is helps you. Well, we're going to talk about how the process of share ownership is. So when you meet the eligibility that you don't own more than 90K and you don't own a property, okay, you need to register with L&Q and complete a form. That's what they call eligibility. So L&Q have a team that will approve your application, and then you're able to book a viewing in with whatever development you are interested in. So once you book the viewing and then you see I want this or that one, then you could put a reservation fee on the property, okay? And then that's when the process starts, okay? After that, you will need to speak to one of our financial advisors to qualify you. So basically, we need to check that the finances, the salary, savings, or deposit match the minimum requirements that we have in our development or in every development. So every development works in different ways. You will find rents lower here than our competitors, or probably we will offer more things here than you could find somewhere else. Okay, so once you reserve the property and you pass the financial interview, okay, next slide, please. There will be something, you will need to attend a financial interview. Okay, once the financial interview is done, it means that the financial advisor can submit your mortgage application. Okay, the mortgage application means that's the money you're gonna borrow from the bank to buy the percentage of L&Q or your home in L&Q. Okay, once that one is approved, sorry, one the financial interview is successful, completed, or approved by the financial advisor, then what you're going to do is you're going to appoint a solicitor. Solicitors are they work closer to us, okay, and they will guide you through the process on how you buy the property. They will answer any queries regarding the conveyancing, regarding the lease, regarding any query that you have regarding the whole process or the property. It will be answered via solicitors. So once the mortgage is approved, 42 days probably after all the legal paperwork is being issued to you, you have revised everything, you study everything, you have signed everything, then we will proceed to something called exchange of contracts. Exchange of contract means is that your mortgage application is being approved, that you have signed and read all the documents, and then you're ready to get into a contract with L&Q. Once you do this, you get with L&Q into a binding contract that there is no way back. So basically, you will need to complete on the property that you buy. Once you exchange contracts, or before you exchange contracts, here at Kew Gardens, we will agree to a completion date. Okay, this completion date normally takes 10 working days after, or you could speak to Nick or me, and we will agree to, I don't know, maybe a month or 12 days or whatever your requirements are. It needs to be approved by our managers. We are quite flexible here. So when you choose the completion date, that's when all the funds from the mortgage that you borrow from the bank will come to L&Q. Okay, so that day, when we have a confirmation that the funds are in L&Q accounts, you can come and pick up your keys. Okay, so yeah, that's basically sort of it's pretty simple, but yeah, Nick and me will guide you through the process on how to buy a property with us. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so just in terms of affordability, we don't want to get bogged down here in lots of different scenarios because we can run through with you your individual circumstances. We've just shared here a snapshot of, roughly speaking, what your outgoings would be on a one bed for shared ownership versus if you were renting privately in this area. So as you can see, your rent, mortgage and service charge combined would be just under 1,300 per calendar month. I can't stress enough, it does depend on your individual circumstances, but this is a really good guide, and it's assuming you're buying the minimum 25%. Privately renting in this area, one bed, you're looking at getting on for 1,900 per calendar month. In fact, on this actual development at Kew Bridge Rise, the one beds rent for upwards of 2,000 a month. So I think not only is shared ownership a great financial option for people that would otherwise be privately renting, but it also offers you some security that privately renting doesn't really. So you'll be a leaseholder, despite the fact that we still own a portion of the property. And this really, you know, again, is all about getting a foot on the ladder, a start. And I think, you know, you can see here just from this illustration how advantageous that can be. Okay, so something about the development. These are photos of our development. Obviously I'm biased, but I am a huge fan because I think it's an absolutely stunning development. It's a joint venture project between L&Q and the Hill Group. So the Hill Group are the builders. They are excellent multi-award winning builders, and their team handles the outright sale on the development. We have fitted kitchens with appliances included, so oven hob extractor, fridge freezer, microwave, full-size dishwasher, and there's a washer dryer in the utility cupboard. Really stylish kitchens, and specification generally is very, very good quality here. One of the great things about this partnership with Hill is that we don't have a difference here between the shared ownership specification and the outright sale specification. So it's you know, it really does look beautiful, as you can see from these photos. Having mirrored storage in the bathrooms, which is lit inside, these kind of touches, like, they really give you a great feel when you come into the apartments. Beautiful podium gardens. Our planting has survived the heat wave so far, I'm pleased to say. So it's a really nice space for people to enjoy. As far as the floor plans themselves go, we have 2 types of one bed floor plan and 3 types of 2 bed. None of them have difficult angles to accommodate, and you know, this is really important because it's all usable space. We have underfloor communal heating as well, so there's no radiators to accommodate furniture. It's much easier to furnish. Also on the development, we have some commercial units on the ground and the first floors. Some of them have been let already. So coming soon, we have a coffee shop and bakery. We have Mum's Organic Grocery. We have a nursery, and we also have a dance studio and talent agency. One of the great selling points about this development is the amenities that we have on site. Again, with shared ownership, it's not always the case that you have these kind of amenities, but we have a concierge, we have a residence lounge, we have a co-working space, and we have a gym. And all of these amenities are included in your monthly service charge. So the service charge is a fee that you pay to the management company. It's Encore in this case, and they are responsible for the cleaning, maintenance and upkeep of all the communal parts, including the on-site amenities. Anything that's not inside your apartment but is on the development is taken care of via the service charge. Beautifully designed, as you can see here. We can walk you through these spaces on your viewing as well, so you can see for yourself. But they really are stunning. And an added bonus, it's been nice in this heat wave that we do have aircon in the gym and the co-working space. It's amazing how popular they've become. So, you know, if I was living here, I'd be in the gym on the bike, not pedaling, just reading a mag in the heat. It's absolutely perfect.
Right. So another of our great selling points is the transport links. We got a Kew Bridge station, 2 minutes walk from the development. It's a straight line to Waterloo. You are basically in 25-30 minutes in Waterloo. And then if you don't want to take the train, you could take the district line in Gainsbury station. So you walk from the station 10 minutes and then you are in 30 minutes in Charing Cross. So it's pretty well connected. Okay. There is plenty of green spaces. We go Kew Green, Richmond Park, Gainsbury Park. There's a big, we're next to the river, so you could walk along the river and find amazing coffee shops, pubs. We go Arista Coffee next to us. I mean, it's a very well vibing area where you could plan on your weekends basically walking along the river. So this is an aerial picture of where we are located. If you see the label, the yellow label, that's where Kew Bridge is located. So close to us is the M4. So the M4 is the motorway that goes to Heathrow. So if you basically take a taxi or Uber or you drive, you are in 22 minutes in Heathrow. So it's pretty handy if you're traveling overseas. Okay. We also have the Royal Botanical Gardens Kew, which is one of the oldest botanical gardens in the world and hold the largest orchid collection, which orchids are my favorite flower. I'm from Colombia, and it's the national flower. So you go there, every year they do this exhibition, and it's amazing to watch or to see how the flowers bloom. Yeah. Also, next to Kew Bridge, Kew Garden station, there is a food market on the weekends that you could go. I mean, the food there is to die for, and you will find out all variety. You will go Asian food, you will have some South American food, Jamaican food. I mean, like it's pretty ethnic or very mixed. As you see on the picture, we also run a lot of green and water. So I mean, if you fancy walking or you're hiking or do anything, I mean, it's like nearby. Also, we are close to Richmond. One of my favorite places in London is the Temple of Cycling. Okay, in Richmond is the place where the first bike shop was open in the world and still open. So if you're a fan of cycling or you love cycling, just go to Richmond or to see the animals there. It's an amazing experience to go.
Okay, so this is our lovely Rihanna. Rihanna did a case study for us, and you can read more of her story on our website. So Rihanna bought a 1-bed shared ownership with us in our first phase. One of the things about this development that I love is the buyers. We've had around 70 shared owners move in so far, and just really, I mean, again, I'm a bit biased because they're my buyers, but really genuinely lovely people, you know, mixed kind of backgrounds. And I just feel they're really adding the beating heart to the development. Hand on heart, looking at everything, the amenities, the quality of the build, the floor plans, the people. This is the best development I've ever sold for L&Q in 17 years. All developments have their good points. There's always something, but this for me is the best so far. And just to say, our job is not just to sell you a home, but to progress the sale and to effectively hold your hand throughout the process. We understand that this is a very daunting process, can be, but our job is to make it as easy as possible for you and to guide you, as we did with Brianna, every step of the way. So, we're here to answer your questions, and we're also here to tell you what's coming next, what to expect.
Okay, right. So why to choose us? Why to choose L&Q? So all homes are covered by a 12-year NHBC warranty and inclusive of a 2-year L&Q new homes warranty. So this is standard, but we were proud of that. We offer a home welcome demonstration how to use your new appliances, heating, and to answer any other queries you might have about your home before you move in. Kew Bridge has won 2 awards. The first one is Best Partnership with the Hill Group. As I say, the Hill Group is an amazing builder. So what Nick say about the finishes and everything, she's absolutely right. Kew Bridge also have the Rise Award as a Best Starter Home. Okay. All our properties have balconies or terraces. We don't have anyone with terraces, but all they have a very good decent sized balcony where you could put a table, chairs, you could do alfresco dining, you could do whatever you want there, even sunbait. Some of the apartments will allow you that. The energy efficient in the apartments is B, which means is everything is sort of new technology, so the latest one. Your bills should be very low. So yeah, I mean, this is a good selling point as well. So you shouldn't spend much in heating because they're well insulated.
Okay, so we thought it would be useful just to talk about some of the questions that we get, the worries really about shared ownership. So first one, I've seen some bad press about shared owners being unable to sell their properties. So this is something we see quite commonly. So first thing to say is that if you want to sell your home, L&Q gets 8 weeks, our resales team, 8 weeks to sell it for you to another shared owner. We act as your agent effectively. In about 80% of cases, we're successful. Where you hear some scare stories around this of people getting stuck is often to do with fire safety, with cladding. So older new builds that have dangerous cladding, where some people did get stuck because their buyers were unable to obtain mortgages until the cladding issues were solved. In our case, we have an A1 rating on our EWS1 form. So this is the EWS1 form, it relates to cladding. It's as good as it gets, A1. So we don't have that issue. For me, this isn't a problem with shared ownership, provided the fire safety is up to date. And lastly, if we don't manage to find you a buyer in that 8 weeks, then you can then go to an estate agent as you would any other property, and you then pay them the fee, their fee, and it's sold at 100%. And then on completion, you get your portion and we get our portion. So I guess for me, the only downside really is that you can't be guaranteed a quick sale because we always have our 8 weeks to find another shared owner. This is all assuming, by the way, that we still own a portion of the property. If you manage to staircase up to 100%, then we don't get involved in the sale of the home. And then secondly, I won't be able to staircase unless I save up lots of money. Not necessarily the case. It's not necessarily just with cash that you can buy more shares in the home. It could be that your salary has increased and you remortgage. It could also be that if the value of the home has increased sufficiently, that equity that you gain between what you bought for and what the current valuation is, that equity can be used to staircase. So obviously this is completely to do with market conditions. When you staircase, the value of the home is established at that time, not what you bought it for. Same with selling, actually. So you would need to be able to demonstrate that staircasing is affordable, but it's not just about the cash. Service charges are out of control. So we see lots of bad press around service charges relating to shared ownership. Actually, it's not really shared ownership per se, it's leasehold. Again, when you see some of these horror stories about service charges going up hugely, it's often around fire safety, where there have been implications for leaseholders with not just the cladding and the physicality of the block, but the ongoing fire inspections. Again, it comes back down to we don't have cladding issues here, and all of the fire safety inspections that have to be ongoing and done are already costed into our service charge here. Interestingly, and this is no guarantee that in the future the service charge doesn't go up, of course, but we've had our first annual cycle. Every year, a service charge is adjusted. A service charge is an estimation for the year ahead. So the management company will say, okay, this is what we think we're going to spend. And then at the end of the year, they look at what they've actually spent and it's adjusted. Actually, it went down by about £1 a month, but that is quite unusual. And like I say, no guarantee that it won't go up in the future. It's likely to, but it is a good start. So I just wanted to give you a bit of comfort around our experience so far on this development. And then finally, I'll never be able to sublet my home. This is something you should look at if you're looking at another development, because not all developments allow subletting, even if you're 100% ownership. It's unusual, but at Kew Bridge Rise, as long as you staircase to 100%, you can then sublet your home. That means you can move out and you can have somebody renting from you. There are very particular circumstances where we may allow subletting whilst we still own a share. And that could be something like if your employer offers you a secondment overseas for a year, and by not accepting that means you would lose your job, then those are the kind of circumstances that we will look at case by case and say, okay, we have a team that deals with that. Regardless of subletting, if you have a spare room, whether we still own a share or not, you can take a lodger. You're allowed to take a lodger that pays you rent. So that actually, if you can achieve a purchase, whether you a 2-bed instead of a 1-bed and have a spare room, that's actually a great way of getting an additional income. We can't use that income to assess you financially. So you have to be able to demonstrate that you can cope with the outgoings off your own back, but it's certainly a really good tool in the toolbox, that's for sure. Okay, so please do stick around. We've got some a Q&A coming up next. I did want to mention that we have limited to the first 10 viewings that book in a £25 voucher to Arista Cafe, which is literally next door to us. Fabulous cafe, really lovely food, obviously amazing coffee and cocktails. So well worth doing that. And we would ask for you to book a viewing with us. Please be patient. We may be quite busy after this webinar. We will come back to you. It's best to email us a viewing request because, and you'll see our details here, because then we can time them and know the first 10 that get those vouchers. Did I mention they do cocktails, Arista? I don't know if I did. Oh, good. But so thanks so much so far, guys. But please do stick around for the Q&A.
Thanks, Nadie. Thanks, John. Yeah, and I'd echo what both the guys said. This is a real sort of best-in-class example of a shared ownership development in London. The level of quality at Kew Bridge Rise is particularly high. It's a nice part of London. If you're a Brentford fan, it's not too far from the stadium either, so you might have that benefit as well. As a little bit of a challenge, Nikki did say that she's been doing it for 17 years, and there's very few questions that she feels like she can't answer. So yeah, by all means in the Q&A. But to kick things off, thank you to everybody who's asked the questions so far. I will go through as many as we can. The first one that we had through was about the credit score, and somebody saying if they haven't got an excellent credit score, is there still opportunities for them to potentially get a mortgage?
Yes, it doesn't necessarily have to be excellent, the score. I mean, ultimately, we have a panel of approved financial advisors that can give you best advice. But some credit scores aren't excellent because you don't have a huge amount of credit. And lenders will I have to caveat and say I'm not a financial advisor, but lenders will take a view on this. Problem in obtaining a mortgage is if you have bad credit. So if you have defaults, late payments, not necessarily stopping you. There are fringe lenders that will lend. However, as an organisation, we expect you to have a good credit score for us to say, yes, it's okay to go ahead. So it doesn't have to be excellent, but there are, so a default is when something is very late and it becomes what's called a default. County court judgments, things like that would prevent normally a high street lender from lending to you. And if you're unable to get a mortgage with a high street lender, then that's a bit of a problem for L&Q. But looked at case by case. So and we're speaking to the financial advisors on that. And also, when you use these credit reference agencies, they can help you improve your credit score. So it's not necessarily game over.
Thanks. And yeah, a linked question to that one really is, does a buyer have to use the mortgage brokers or mortgage advisors that you guys recommend that's on your panel, or can they go to independent? Can they find their own independent advisors?
So you absolutely do not have to use our approved financial advisors. You can go to another broker or straight to the lender. I mean, they're excellent. There's no reason not to use them. You must be fully financially assessed by our approved financial advisor. So part of their job is to assess our buyers for L&Q. So regardless of whether you use them to arrange your mortgage, you must have that full financial assessment with them. That involves sending them in all of your documentation, your ID, etc., etc. If you use them to arrange your mortgage, they're independent, so they're not tied to any one lender. If you do use them, it's much more straightforward. It's a press of a button and your mortgage application is made. So, but no, you don't. You absolutely don't have to use them.
Thank you very much. Something you mentioned, I think it was John that mentioned it early in the presentation, was that as well as your deposit, you probably do need some additional funds for the move. I think you mentioned about £5,000. I've had a question about that. Do you just want to maybe expand a little bit on what that might be for, that additional fund?
So mortgage fees, you would have potentially a mortgage arrangement fee with an advisor or a broker, and also a valuation fee. So this is when you make a mortgage application, your lender will send a RICS surveyor to the development to not do a structural survey. It's not necessary with the new build, but just to ensure that we're not overcharging you for the property, because the lender is basically making an investment. So we've never had a down valuation at Kew Bridge Rise, so it's not been a problem for us. But that fee could be anything from sort of, I think, typically between £250 and £500, and you'll pay that. So that's on you to pay, as well as your mortgage arrangement fees. Solicitor fees really depends on the case. Probably an average of about £2,000. And the additional I was talking about, moving costs, is literally that, what it's going to cost you to move into the home. So, you know, if you're hiring a van or if you're hiring a removals company, that kind of thing. So you kind of want that buffer. And, you know, for a lot of people, obviously, they'll need to buy a stick of furniture. So the bare bones are in. With a new build like this, you kind of need something to sleep on and something to sit on initially, and then you can build up, but you're likely to need to spend a bit on furniture initially.
Thanks. You went into some detail about staircasing, and I think that's always a really important thing for potential buyers to be aware of, that yes, you might be buying a particular share when you first move in, but over time, if you can afford to and you want to, there is that option to staircase and buy more shares, and potentially all the way up to 100%. Is there, one of the questions we've had is there any limit to how quickly or slowly you have to staircase? I mean, even that, you don't have to staircase anywhere, but if you did want a staircase, is there any particular rules about how soon you can do it? Is there a limit on when you can do it? Anything like that?
So there's no time limit. You can staircase immediately you complete, but an important thing to say is when you're initially buying, you're assessed by the approved financial advisor as to how much of the share that you can buy. If you can afford 50%, then 50% it must be. But let's say, for example, you buy your initial share, whatever that may be, and you legally complete, you take your keys, and the next day you have a small lottery win, excuse me, and suddenly you've got a bunch of cash, you can staircase immediately if you want to. There's no time limit. There's no, you know, you can staircase straight away. You could staircase 20 years later if you wanted to. So no time limit, but there are, you get 3 attempts to get to 100%. So you can't just continue to buy chunks of 10%, for example, until you get to 100%. Normally, the advice is, if you can, is to wait until you can staircase in one leap to 100%. And that's because every time you staircase, you're going to pay a new set of legal fees and or mortgage fees. So you know, it depends on the circumstances, but it's good to speak to a financial advisor at the time and say, okay, well, this is what I could afford. Is it worth it? You know, you just need to be a bit canny about the timing of it.
Thanks. And probably a linked question that we get quite regularly is that there is the highest income cap when you're first moving into a shared ownership property. So in London, it's for household income is up to £90,000. But if your household income increases over that during the time that you're living in a shared ownership property, that's absolutely fine. So, you know, nobody's going to kick you out for getting a pay rise or winning the lottery, anything like that, like Nikki mentioned. Got a few questions specifically about Kew Bridge Rise. So get you on your toes with these ones. This sounds like it's coming from a particularly savvy buyer. Are there any incentives or offers available at the moment?
There are. So I know John mentioned the £500 reservation fee at the start, which is standard, but actually our summer incentive that runs until September, it's a £99 reservation fee. That does come back to you at the end, provided you don't withdraw anyway. But yeah, reduced to £99 and £4,000 TUI holiday voucher. Or if you prefer, you can take the £4,000 as an incentive towards buying costs, which is deducted at the end. So depending on your circumstances, you know, if you just want to save it for an amazing holiday, then TUI vouchers. But obviously, buying costs a bit more practical. So yeah, £4,000, which is a pretty tasty incentive at the moment, actually.
Yeah, great question there. Anonymous attendee, as you gave your name as. So do you have any, I know this can really change depending on development and circumstances. But do you have any guidance of how long it usually takes to move in once it's preserved? And are the homes at Kew Bridge Rise, are they ready to go now, or are they ready for people to move into?
Yep, so we're build complete. We have 70 shared owners living here already, as well as an additional, I think, 150 or so private purchasers and affordable renters. Between 7 and 10 weeks from when you pay your reservation fee, I would say, is where most cases fall. There will be deadlines that we'll set and we'll go through with you, so you'll know what to expect. It does vary case by case. We have a panel of approved solicitors. Again, you don't have to use them, but they've exchanged and completed on the development many times over. It's a real time saver. The actual exchange deadline is 42 days from the issue of the memorandum of sale, which comes after the financial interview is passed. It can happen a lot quicker if you use one of the panel solicitors. Again, they're not affiliated to us. They represent you, not us. But I think between 7 and 10 weeks is where most of it falls.
Sounds like we've got an interested attendee here. They're interested in purchasing a property on the ground floor. Would they have the right to choose which property, assuming they can afford, a choice of properties, which property and what location and within the block they could purchase?
Okay, so we don't have any ground floor apartments available because mostly on the ground floor it's commercial units and so on. And the first floor apartments that feel like the ground floor because they're on the podium garden, which is raised to the first floor, I'm afraid they're all sold. So we don't have any ground floor or first floor available. But in terms of being able to choose the apartment of your choice, absolutely. All that comes down to assuming you're eligible for shared ownership is affordability. So your two main areas that you're looking at for shared ownership is eligibility for the product itself and then affordability. And we can obviously help you with both. There's no restriction on what you can buy here. There's no restriction by area. We did have that initially, but we don't anymore. So we have a price list, but we've also got available apartments. We can sell anything that basically we haven't sold already. So we'll, as part of the viewing, we'll look at what you're looking for, what your priorities for. We'll get a flavour of what you want, and then we'll discuss some options with you, and then we'll go and view some of those options. It's not uncommon for there to be more than one viewing because it's quite a lot to see. Part of the viewing we do is to walk you through the amenities as well so that you get a really good overall picture.
And it's a first come, first served. So if there were two people that were interested in the same unit, it's just a case of who gets there first.
I mean, effectively now, I mean, there is a procedure for allocating the apartments, but because we're up and running now, it tends not to be that you've got the same apartment, that you've got more than one person that wants it. That happens more at a launch where you've potentially got 5 people on the same day wanting the same property. So technically there is an allocations policy, but it doesn't in practicality here, it doesn't really come into play. If it did come into play, then we would have to adhere to it. But the way the development is, or the block is, it's 16 floors. So the floor plans from the 2nd floor to the 16th floor, it's the same footprint repeated up. So it's even if that was the case and you lost out on the one that you wanted because somebody with a higher priority picked you to the post, there's almost certainly going to be something else very similar to it.
A question about when you're living in your shared ownership property, and if the opposite happens to what we've talked about so far, if your income are going up, if for some reason your income goes down and you find yourself financially struggling and you can't afford to pay the rent, is there a particular process that's different with shared ownership than it would be with private sale or with private rent? Is there anything you can let us know about that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, we're a charitable trust, we're a housing association, and we're going to provide assistance where we can. The thing to do if you're in trouble is to contact us immediately. So I'm not 100% familiar with exactly but I'm sure it's case by case basis. But our motivation is going to be to keep you in the home.
Yeah, thank
Absolutely, most important thing is if you're in trouble, ask us.
Yeah, thank you. Something particularly notable about Kew Bridge Rise is the shared facilities, and you mentioned that there's a gym and there's a co-working space, which is really interesting because even just going back a few years ago, co-working spaces weren't really a thing in the development, were they? But shows how the times are changing. Did the residents have to pay extra to access those facilities?
No, not extra. It's all bundled into the service charge. So you are paying for those facilities, but you're paying for that within your existing service charge. So it's a monthly service charge. So not additionally, no.
And concierge. You forgot concierge. Yeah, concierge.
And concierge as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. You can tell he's been picking up John's post form, can't you? Okay, so one that probably goes to the, I'm sure you guys can answer this one. What's the benefits of buying a new build property over an older property?
I mean, the first thing is it's a beautiful, shiny new property. It's like buying any new thing. You know, it's mint condition. You have a warranty. So you have in this case, NHBC warranty that covers the sort of heavier structural stuff in the first 12 years. So you shouldn't have any kind of major costs for quite some time related to the apartment because all of the communal stuff is part of your service charge. There's also a 2-year defects period. So when you take your keys, for the first 2 years, it's on us. If the plumbing goes wrong in the bathroom, for example, it's on us to fix it. So any defects are covered. And I think just broadly with new build and the way they're kind of structured, I do think there is, for me anyway, a real benefit to the kind of community feel, and especially with our amenities here, even more so. You know, I think that it's, again, I'm quite biased, aren't I? But I do think new build is wonderful.
Thank you. I'm just going to ask a couple more questions. What I'll do is I'll just pop up the details of the getting in touch about the development again for the last couple of questions.
And on the new build, things I will add, Nick, I will say the energy efficient. That's one main thing that I mentioned, that you will save a lot more money. They're better insulated, they're double glazing, so it's less noise, more heat they keep, you know. So things run smoothly than if you buy a second home, you know, like, or second-hand home that might not have underfloor heating. We have underfloor heating. They might have all radiators that need maintenance, you know. So it's quite a lot. Like it's a lot of pluses to buy and a new home. Yeah.
Thank you. So I've got a couple of very quick ones. Or hopefully, I think they're quick ones. What can a resident have a pet at Kew Bridge Rise?
Yes. So we're pet friendly here. It's L&Q's pet policy that applies. So we reviewed our pets policy as a result of COVID and lockdown. So we kind of acknowledge that pets are psychologically very important to people. So it's up to 2 cats and 2 dogs within reason. You know, no dangerous dogs, that's for sure. No rhinos, etc.
You know, they can be vicious.
Well, you know,
they can be vicious. I've had a couple.
You never know. So we you know, there's other pets that you can have. So there's some restrictions which we can provide to you exactly what the restrictions are, but we are pet friendly. We've got some amazing pets on this. I don't really see the cats by definition, but we've got a few lovely dogs, that's for sure.
Yeah, thank you. And is there parking at this development or any L&Q developments?
So at this development, we have no parking for shared ownership, unfortunately, and you wouldn't be eligible for a residence permit from the council. That's a planning condition. This is fairly standard for shared ownership new builds that have good transport links. So whilst we do have a car park, it's very limited parking. It's just for the outright sale apartments, unfortunately. So the way around it, if you must have a car, you would realistically, you'd have to look at opportunities in the area to lease a bay privately. It's not something we get involved with.
Okay, thank you. And does L&Q have anything else coming up in West London or the nearby region?
So we have a couple coming up. No fixed launch dates yet, but Acton Gardens, which is South Acton. So that's a big regeneration scheme. We've been selling that one for the last 16, 17, for more or less as long as I've been here, 16 or 17 years. So we're hoping to launch that this autumn. Hounslow, which we don't have a launch date for. And then across London, there are, if you have a look on our website, you'll see there's other developments if you're not looking at the West Pacific specifically, and home counties and the north of England as well, where we get about L&Q.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we'll leave it there for the questions. I couldn't get through everyone. Apologies. There was a few questions in there that were a bit more on the financial side, and Nikki and John on financial advisors, so we'll be putting them in a little bit of an awkward situation to answer too many of those. But you can go on L&Q's website, you can see the list of the recommended brokers that they work with. Also on the Share to Buy website, we have a list of brokers on there. So if you do have financial questions, there are some avenues that you can go down to try and get those answered. If we didn't get around to your other questions, there's an email address on the screen. If you've got a particular question, please do feel free to follow up with Nikki and John on that email address. And yeah, that's it really. Thank you everybody for your questions, and thank you for attending. Thanks to Nikki and John, and I hope some of you get to meet them in person when you go down and view the development. For those of you who haven't already registered with Share to Buy, we're a website that is dedicated to shared ownership and affordable home ownership, so please do check us out as well. And we've got lots of events like webinars and in-person events that we do as well. But yeah, for now, thank you very much. We have recorded the session, so we will make this available. After the session, you'll get this into a link to this into your inbox at some point. But yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
See you next time.
Ciao. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.